That is in the astrology right now, actually, of this beautiful celestials in the sky right now. But there's two celestials that are moving in retrograde and moving backwards, and that's Jupiter and Saturn, and they're in a little shared thing at the moment. So friends that are new to the space, I rep sidereal astrology. I'm a student of Jyotish, um, the science of light, which is so much cooler than calling it Vedic astrology, frankly speaking. Because that's what it is. It's all about light and shadow and perception. That's totally what it's all about. So if you hear me name different signs, such and such and such and such a place, that's why. And we've spoken in the past about like, well, how do you resolve that? Like, what if you want to read both horoscopes, tropical and sidereal? Like, how do you reconcile that? It's like, can you move with both systems? There are astrologers that do, absolutely. And they craft their own mechanism for doing that, like that. I'm cool with Jyotish. I just stick with Jyotish. So, anywho, that's my astrology disclaimer. But I did name last time like favorite astrologers, Chani Nichols. She's a tropical astrologer, but she just keeps it so dang real. So who cares what the system is? People keeping it real. There's something to get out of it. But I just love how she represents, and how she uses her platform for good. You know what I mean? So that's a good role model right there. And I'm sure she's not perfect. I hope she's not perfect. That would make her more human, right? There you go. So Jupiter is Saturn. Jupiter is planet of dharma, purpose. And then Saturn is this planet of karma. Oh, the taskmaster. What are we here to do? What are we here to cleanse? What are we going to go deeply into? Like mission, kind of vibe. Both of those are moving backwards right now and at the same time. And so it will depend on where these celestials land in your own chart. Of course, what themes are going to resonate with that. But we can generalize that right now is a review time of purpose for being and the spiritual practices that support your purpose for being. Yeah, so we get like a few weeks of this. I think that goes like just a little bit into November right now. So if you found yourself doing that, you're like, does that mean that the celestials control my life? No. It's just part of the mirror reflective nature of nature. All right, that our ancestors looked up into the sky. Like last night, I was looking up into the sky and I saw, 5 stars because of light pollution. And I've been thinking, I'm here in Northern Illinois, and I'm like, no, like the ancestors here would have seen that whole blanket of stars and Milky Way. And, like nowadays you have to go into a remote area, to see that. And nah, the sky doesn't look the same as it did for our ancestors. But that was like a little side note there. That was one of my contemplations last night of like, oh, I wonder what the sky above me right now looks like without all the light pollution. Wow, superimposed like NASA photographs or something. The fun of the human mind. But our ancestors, they had beautiful, 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 thick, milky skies, blankets of stars, and celestials to observe. And thousands and tens of thousands of years to make those observations. And so what astrology is an ancestral inheritance of the curiosities of human psychology and the movement of the celestials, this reflection. Movement of the celestials through various cycles and lunar and solar and this one. And when the dragon comes and eats the moon, eclipses, like this. So, I mean, I guess that message is don't take it too seriously. Like the celestials don't control you. It's just, it's, if it's a helpful thing, then cool. If you like to nerd out about it, also cool. So that's one big celestial influence at the moment. And here we are in this full moon. We're live just before it'll be, let's see, I'm in Central Time, so it'll be in the early morning. Will be the full moon will be exact tomorrow. So we're in that last little drop build up right now. And it's a super moon vibe. So heightened emotions, heightened seismic activity, heightened like human extremes, which is kind of like again, like damn, we're just gonna keep on this like heightened human extremes vibe where humans make dumbass choices, and also we're reaping the dumbass choices that were made about climate and environment before, and also like construction and the use of concrete and so on. So if you've been wondering, like, has it been really heightened for an extended period of time? Yeah. Yes, we have not really gotten a break from the like seismic, violent humans doing dumb stuff. That's in the celestials right now. Now, one of the main characters around that is Mars. Now, if you have a strong Martian presence like myself, I love Mars. I want to get shit done, Mars. I want to train hard, Mars. I want to be direct, ooh, Mars. So as a real doer in life, like I love that Martian energy. When Martian energy isn't strong, it's not as much fun. And when Martian energy goes really high, so long you can moderate it, that can also be fun. But it's the so long you can moderate it part that's the tough part. Yeah. Now Mars just changed signs. And in sidereal, Mars is now in a place where it's debilitated. It's a wet Mars. Mars is in sidereal Cancer. And that's a wet Mars. Mars is fiery. So wet Mars is maybe the break we needed collectively. This is, yeah. Yeah. So it's all how we work with it. It's all how we feel into those elements and work with it. Mhm. Mars is going to hang out in this area for like 4 months. Like, because we're still in October, November, December, January. It's not until February 4th, I believe, that Mars is going to push on to the next sign, because Mars is going to have a retrograde cycle as well. And for a little bit, it'll come back into sidereal Gemini, and then it'll come back into sidereal Cancer. Again, the very wet place. And we're going to spend some time. Mars is going to be a real interesting and curious influence for us for the next 4 months. That's going to be rather specific to where that lands in your chart. When we want to look at planets that influence the collective, we're looking at those outer planets: Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn. Slow moving. Really helping us sit in the thing. So we've referenced like Pluto in the last few circles because of just where it's because in the US chart, the chart for the United States, the US is having a Pluto return. It's very significant. But I'm not going to be one of these like doomsday astrologers, like some of the blogs that I read, that I feel like there's a tiny ego around wanting to be the person to make the prediction of somebody's downfall, in this case, a whole country. And I'm just like, That's silly, you know. Like you don't have to keep the tension so high just to like keep your readership going, you know. But I guess in a sales point of view, that's what sells. So yeah. Don't like this. Well, we're looking for the harmony, right? We're looking for this solution. We're looking for the easefulness and like, oh, let's help Mars learn how to surf. You know, like, oh, Mars doesn't have to just be a doused fire. You know, I can't get that. Oh no, now it's about surfing. You know, it's just think of it in terms of the elements, you know, and what's being inspired. So this full moon, another thing about sidereal astrology, or Jyotish specifically, is that the first language in this astrological system was about the moon phases. Like the first, you know, signs and signifiers for human mind are these 28 phases of the moon. So those ancestors made storytelling around each of those phases of the moon. The moon is only in these lunar mansions, if you will, nakshatras, for 2 days. Just like our minds. Darts around, moving all the time. If you're somebody that's very moony, you know, like myself, you're in a mood. Don't worry, 48 hours from now, you're not going to be in that mood. It'll shift on. Don't worry. You know? And so, like this, we get a lot of changing flavors with the moon. Lots of changing flavors. So wherever the nakshatra is of that moon, where's the moon at that point in time, that's giving us the flavor of the moon phase. We're in a full moon moment, so wow, fullness, a sense of cyclic completion from the new moon. So we do pause and, you know, come back to what was happening at new moon time. I think we had that solar eclipse, you know, it was kind of hypercharged, and Mars was real reactive in a very Martian way. And if we think about, you know, the weather patterns we've seen, the disastrous things that we've seen in the last month or so, yeah, it has seriously been upticked. This. And then here we are at another full moon and another flavor and another influence. So let's check in crowd favorite, Myths and Symbols of Vedic Astrology by Bevin Bihari. We are at the beginning. We are at the very first nakshatra, which automatically tells us we're starting some kind of new cycle. Cycles within cycles within cycles within cycles within cycles. We get a new cycle. We're at nakshatra number 1, Ashwini. And the symbol of this is 2 horses. And they're active. This. And just skimming a little bit here. So the ruler of this of the sign that Ashwini falls under, which is sidereal Aries, except this moon is at 0 degrees sidereal Aries. And that's called Gandanta, or the changing elements zone. And we're going from water to fire. So just pause, feel into elements, right? We're going from water to fire. Okay, you know, we're going from something fluid and this thing to like getting the little spark going, you know, and by the time you're at like 3 or 4 degrees in, you're in it. You're in the fire. Now that's real different from when it's reversed. When it's fire into water, you know. chuck water onto a hot thing, what happens? Steam, bubbly. Yep, yep. So, okay, something's gonna get started. See what else we can find out. But Mars rules this area, and Mars is also in a watery place right now. So, okay, okay, probably a slow start, whatever this is. And so the basic attribute here is rajas, activity, right? Hence what I'm saying. So Ashvini is related to the activation of the primeval energy from its state of latency. What we just said. In the Hindu mythology, no one is able to withstand the radiance of the sun, Surya. Surya was therefore left alone without anyone to share his life. Oh, by the way, Jyotish is super binary language. Yeah, just disclaimer. And at the same time, Tantra is not. I was just listening to a class yesterday that gave that reminder that, like, Tantra Jyotish, Nadi Jyotish, uses the language of non-binary. I found that really interesting. The D20 class. Anywho, okay. But so to enable him to have a wife, the first task was to reduce his effulgence. I guess this is also quite heteronormative as well. The resplendence of the sun was so unbearable that his mother, Aditi, approached her husband, the sage Kashyapya, to help in reducing it. Kashyapya divided the fetus into 12 parts and made each a sun in his own realm. The sun belonging to our universe was married to the daughter of Vashar, also called Vishwakarma, the celestial architect. But the girl found it difficult to discharge her marital responsibilities with such a dazzling spouse. In order to discover her own dharma, purpose, responsibility, she went to perform penance. As she left to do so, she instructed her handmaid, Chaya, whose name means shadow, to look after her husband. This allegory describes the beginning of solar evolution and provides a hint to the mysterious process of activating the primeval energy. The word Surya, which means sun, is derived from the root su, which means to produce, bring forth, parent, and is also related to courage, valor, and so on. Tavash, I want to say this correctly. Tavashtar means a carpenter, a builder, a workman. Tavashri, as his daughter, had these capacities as well. Aditi, the mother of the sun, means the earth and is also the mother of the gods. It stands for that which is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and Omega. Aditya, meaning the son of Aditi, stands for the sun. Sanjana, another name for Tavashri, the wife of sun, means consciousness, understanding, and intellect, as well as sin. Chaya ordinarily means shadow, but also means a reflected image, the blending of colors, protection, and darkness. Returning to the story. While the son was taken care of by Chaya, who always remained with him, he mistook her for his real wife and became infatuated with her. When his real wife returned, she was upset and felt hurt. In remorse, she left the son. She did not wish to return to her father, so she began to wander in the form of a mare. Actually, this story isn't totally accurate, but I'm just going to leave it for now. But there's some little nuances that are left out that are important in the storytelling. But this is what I'm saying. Like, I can't let it go. Fire hose. Okay. So His real wife is down on Earth. She's in the form of a mare, and the jig is up on Chaya. Basically, the Chaya is not his real wife. Okay. So the sun comes down and he finds Tvashri in the form of a mare. So he assumed the form of a horse. He pursued her and became united to her, meaning they got it on. And from this union was born the twin Ashvins, the two horsemen, and they were placed in the sky as the first of these lunar mansions, the Ashvini. So the Ashvins possess great healing and rejuvenative powers because the Ashvins are the, progenies of the celestials, like in the line of the celestial architect, like the ancestral line of the celestial architect and the sun. Born on Earth. Very important. Like, how does Earth come into this whole thing? Through these guys. Okay. Their powers are described in the story of an old sage, Chiavan by name, who married some young princesses who were thereby eager for a full marital relationship with him. Oh yeah, all these celestial stories, it's all like sex, 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 sex. They were just shagging and shagging and shagging and making stuff. Yep. Okay. So they want to get it on. In pursuance of their request, the Ashvins made the sage young again so that his consorts could enjoy with him. This same power was displayed on other occasions. Restoring life, bringing the king back from death. Because, coming to the point here, the Ashvins are the celestial doctors. This nakshatra they're all about healing. That's their medicine, is literally medicine. So the asterism Ashwini also represents rejuvenating power, capable of restoring youth to the old and decrepit, and life to the dead. Yeah, Mrita Sanjivani Sudha. The life elixir. There's all these stories about that as well. Even when death is by the bite of the most venomous serpent. But this healing power needs guidance of spiritual teachers to judge whether or not it should be used. Ashva, the horse, the symbol of this asterism, is associated with the number 7, the most sacred of all the numbers. Everything important and auspicious is connected with 7. The creative energy which emanates from the absolute moves in 7 channels. There are 7 flames of the eternal fire. The horse is also a symbol of vitality and contains within itself the 7 flames which energize all the forms of the manifestation. The 7 horses that draw the chariot of the sun refer to this same life force. And just pause for a second. The sun is our life-giving force here on Earth, right? So the whole photosynthesis, plants, oxygen, breath equals life paradigm can't happen without the sun. And the sun, so the sun is the ultimate benefic, right? But the sun is also malefic. We hang out in the sun and it depletes us with that. But where are we in the solar count? Oh, we're so close. The 31st of October will be the midpoint between the fall equinox and the winter solstice. We really we're right on the cusp of the deep, deep, deep inward yin turn from November 1st to December 21st is our deep yin time. And it's also the time of year for the most wrathful of the most wrathful goddesses. Yes. So our Makalis, Kali Puja, Tara Puja, yeah, these fun things happen. The whole Dashama Vidya crew, it's their time. Like that. So remember, from the cusp of the winter solstice, light is building. So it's not the same yin time. This is light is really waning here. And if we wouldn't have yin time of year, we would perish. So if you want to be in the life art design, you design with the seasons. This is the yin time. Oh, cozy in a butternut squash soup, cozies. Like warm, more rest, like this. Let there be reflection, reflect on the time. That's what this is coming to. This is so important. Okay, a lot of storytelling in this read today. So, seven horses. As such, the first lunar mansion stands for the energy through which the sun, the central deity of this region of the universe, arouses the different forces of creation. The concept of perfection, the sense of wholeness, is contained in Ashvini. It is the storehouse of all forms of power. It is the product of all creative possibilities, though they are present in it only in their latency. So there has to be Shakti. There has to be the creative force, has to impact. There has to be a Venus to go with this Mars, you know, in that sense, a catalyst force. The horse represents physical power and stamina. If a rider is able to break and subdue a wild horse, he can use it to travel far. The asterism can also enable the individual who can master its power to attain great heights in both the material and spiritual realms. The absolute, represented by the sun, is the storehouse of all energy and is able to control and direct the universe under its attractive power. Ashvini, as an offspring of the absolute, stands for that power under which the imperishable, subjective effulgence begins its movement towards materiality, the shadowy world. That's where we are. So transformation, activation of inert matter into electrifying energy and lightning activity, inert matter into divine energy, radical transformation to the human being, thirst for life, a dauntless spirit. There's a lot that could get resonated under the influence of this moon. I was also reading that if anybody has planets in or their rising sign, their lagna in like 0 to 5 degrees of Aries, that this moon could bring like luck. Like it's because of that, it's super expansive, fiery, creative energy that like, yeah, like people could shoot to fame and all kind of things. So, astrology's fun like that to predict these convergences of dharma and karma, these fateful moments. But in all honesty, isn't it more fun to just live it and be surprised by it? Like being able to read into a chart and know things. I like to just focus about like healing. But the depths that one can go to, yes, it's pretty amazing. It's a science. It's a science of the ancestors. So, how interesting that we've got these not opposite poles, but sort of paradoxical poles of yin turning, spark, transformation, kind of a fresh beginning, and and it's pretty wet. Yeah, it's still wet. It's still the aftermath of, like, literally the aftermath of the flood, right? The ground is still saturated. The planet that rules this whole area is in a debilitated, watery place. So that's like, what do we do with that? But I think my first inclination is the Ming Men cosmology in the body, East Asian system, where yin and yang are held in the body. The place is called Ming Men, and it's the fire in the water. So we have such a paradox built into this body, the fire in the water. Right? So yin substance is in the lower abdomen and down, and it's inert. And if there's like anatomical drawing of the body, in East Asian medicine, then it's like the arms are above because yang energy is going to come down from the fingers and into the body and come down, and it's going to do a little swirly dance, and it's going to meet up, hopefully, with yin. Yin holds yang. Yin anchors yang. And that's that fire in the water. This. So literally you exist because of that exact paradox of the fire in the water. That's Shiva Shakti concept also synonymous. That Shiva consciousness is the potentiality, and Shakti consciousness is the active particle. Catalyzing force. Like this. If we had all yang, if we only had sunshine, man, we would also look terrible. Be all leathery and stuff. Instead of like plump and soft like butter. We're not the hairy hunter ancestors of before that could run like 30 miles an hour. We're soft, delicate couch potato version. Very delicate humans. Yeah, we're on this deep spiritual journey thing. A little confused at the moment and a little distracted and like scared, because you're antagonized into the distractions, punished, in fact. So what an interesting moon, what an interesting moment in the season, what an interesting moment in the collective, So I'll pause here. I feel like I've brought us somewhere, a little twisty windy journey, and historically, what we've done in this space is then just kind of open it up for communion, reflection. My invitation is always like, so what are you observing? Are you seeing any of this showing up in your space? Or are you asking any questions right now? Or like, what's your random nature meditation? By the way, tonight is an excellent night for moon bathing, if you can, if the moon is out and not cloud covered.